All right, so reminders that we start with just the strategy part in terms of, marking our triangles so that we can figure out why the triangles are congruent. So if they start out with AB being parallel to CD, I'm going to put an arrow on AB and an arrow on CD. Now they're giving us that for a reason. They're trying to tell us that there are certain parts of the triangles that are congruent. What are those parts?
The angles.
Be specific on the angles.
The ones in the triangles.
I know, but I want letters when I say be specific.
I never learned how to read.
Okay? You don't even have to learn how to read here because they're not going to make words. Anybody? So, reminders. I talk about the idea of making the Z and finding the corners of the Z. So what angles are congruent now? Yeah.
ABD and CDB.
ABD and CDB, because they're alternate interior angles. Okay? All right, so now I am going to mark the other set of sides parallel to each other. Okay? I'm going to use double arrows because I can't use single arrows, otherwise I'm saying that all four sides are parallel, and that's not true. Okay? So now that we know that those two sides are parallel, what angles are congruent? What are the other ones? Again, be specific. Letty, you want to go for it?
ADB.
ADB, which is this angle down here?
Yeah, and CBD.
CBD. All right. So we've got two sets of angles marked congruent, and we've said time and time again that in order for triangles to be congruent, we need at least a set of sides congruent. Go ahead, Summer.
BD is congruent to BD because of reflexive.
There you go. Now we've got three congruency markings. We can say that the triangles are congruent. Why would then the parts be congruent? Nope.
No.
Nope. Why are the, all right, let's start with this. Why are the triangles congruent? The triangles are congruent by
ASA.
ASA. Remember,
Oh,
you,
yeah.
okay? And then from there, why are the parts congruent?
Because it's CPCD.
There you go, okay? All right, so big reminder, okay, number one, since the two givens are the same, okay, we can put them on the same line and just say given. Okay, when we go and say that angle ABD is congruent to angle CDB and angle ADB is congruent to angle CBD, the reason for both of them is the same. If parallel, then alternate interior angles congruent. So I just lumped 2 and 3 together, basically, instead of having to write the same one twice. Okay? All right, from there, we heard that BD is congruent to BD, and our reason was reflexive. Okay, then we had triangle ABD congruent to triangle CDB, and that was because of ASA. Very good. And then AB is congruent to CD, C, P, C, T, C. What does CPCTC stand for? Who's got it? Go ahead, Lynette.
Congruent parts corresponding triangle congruent.
All right, 2 of your C's are backwards.
Corresponding parts congruent. Triangles congruent.
All right. All right. Of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, you had it. So, Lynette, you're corresponding and congruent. We're backwards. That's all. Okay. All right. Second one.
Get you some lunch.
Can I finish writing that?
I'll go back to it after this one, okay? All right, so this one, we'll go through the strategizing part. If we need help with the writing of the proof, we can go through it, okay? Otherwise, we'll skip to the next one. All right, so first one, ZW bisects angle XZY. What is it trying to tell us? Chris?
That angle 1 and 2 are both angles.
No. Because remember, we're trying to prove angles 1 and 2 congruent. We do not mark them congruent, okay? We do not mark them, okay? We're trying to start with our given with the ZW. All right, go ahead.
Doesn't that mean ZW equals ZW?
Well, eventually, but that's not what the,
Well, then X,
so,
W is congruent to X, or WY.
that's not because of the bisecting. So I did mark your reflexive with the
X
ZW.
is corresponding to Y.
We don't have parallel lines.
So it's a bisect, there's
Okay.
sections.
All right, so Lynette, to help you out, and then some,
Z and ZY.
all right, listen,
You almost got it.
okay? Would you agree that this blue part that I just marked is angle XZY?
Yes.
All right, so ZW is bisecting it. So what is it now doing, Sumrit?
So XZW is congruent to YZW because of definition of angle bisector.
Okay, so we're bisecting an angle, so we're creating two angles that are congruent. If it helps, trace it like I did on your picture, and then you can see, oh, this is what's being bisected, this is what's now congruent. Okay, all right, and then from there, they gave us that XZ is congruent to YZ. So why are the two triangles congruent?
ASA. Oh, sorry, SAS.
What do you guys think? Matt, what do you think?
Just a long one.
Yeah.
You sure?
When you say SAS.
SAS.
Remember, all right, just trace it. S,
Oh, yeah.
A, S. Done. Just trace it. Okay? All right, do we need to go through the write-up?
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes? Okay. All right, so ZW bisects angle XZY, given. Okay? All right, so what does that tell us? Well, we learned that angle XZW is congruent to angle YZW. All right, based upon our card stocks, what's our reason?
Definition of angle bisector.
He said definition of angle bisector.
Yes.
Okay? And remember, that's the diagonal concept that we keep talking about. We said bisect, now we can use it as a reason. Okay? Then we've got our other given, xz congruent to yz. Okay, and that was given. And then Lynette gave us that ZW is congruent to ZW. So Lynette, what was the reason for that one?
Which one?
For ZW congruent to ZW.
Oh, because it's reflexive.
Okay, very good. Okay, and now we've got three congruency statements. Okay, line 2 is congruent, line 3 is congruent, line 4 is congruent. So now we can say the triangles are congruent. So triangle XZW is congruent to triangle what? YZW. Okay, and we said that was SAS. And now angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, C, P, C, T, C. Okay, so we said the other day that your first step is to always prove the triangle is congruent, and then your second step is to show that the parts are congruent by C, P, C, T, C. Okay? All right, next page. All right, E is the midpoint of AC. What is it trying to tell us? AE is congruent to EC. I think on your paper it also says that AD is parallel to BC. What is it trying to tell us from that? Somebody else. So mark the arrows.
The Z.
The Z. Very good. Make the Z. Okay, I make that Z. Which angles are now congruent?
The alternate and interior.
Okay, and then tell me which with letters. You can use single letters on this one. Angle and A and D, you said?
Angle D and angle B.
Not D and B.
A and
Oh, okay, never mind. You know what, I'll take that, okay? So if you have your Z going this way, yes, then you can say D is congruent to B. If you have your Z going the other way, you could say that A is congruent to C.
Wow.
So you can go either way on this one. And if you do that, then why are the two triangles congruent?
If parallel, then
No, triangles. So if I get rid of all my Z's, I've got tick, tick, I've got angle, angle, and I've got angle, angle. Okay? So why are the triangles congruent?
AAS.
AAS. Okay? Angle, angle, side. Okay? All right, and so this one's going to be very similar to the first one, where you have two statements with the alternate interior angles. Write it up again. Yay, nay?
No.
Okay, so then let's skip to number 4 then.
wait, it would be S, it'd be SAS.
AAS. If you do the alternate interior angles. Because the other way that you could do this, you could do vertical angles here, and then you can go ASA.
Wow, that's right.
Okay, so you can do that concept as well. All right? Fourth one. A is the midpoint of MT. So, MA is congruent to AT. A is the midpoint of SR, which means that AS is congruent to AR. I'm out of givens.
So it's T and M.
Not T and M, because they didn't give us parallel lines this time. So instead, we got to look for something else.
R and S.
MAS is congruent to RAT because of VAT.
Vertical angles. Very good. Okay? So now why are the two triangles congruent?
SAS.
SAS. Okay? If the triangles are congruent, then why is S congruent to R? CPCTC. Okay? So if we wrote this one up, we got A is the midpoint of, and I would just put MT and SR on the same line, and then just say given. And then you can go MA is congruent to AT, and you can go AS is congruent to AR. And again, the reason for both of them is the same. What is it?
Definition of midpoint.
Definition of midpoint. Okay? Then you've got your angles congruent. And remember on this part, you have to use 3 letters. Angle, M-A-S, is congruent to angle, T-A-R. And the reason is VAT. Then we say our triangles are congruent. So triangle M-A-S is congruent to triangle T-A-R. You said S-A-S. And to finish, angle S congruent to angle R, C, P, C, T, C. Okay?